for the session for the Ironstream for ICE software. My name is Leiße. I'm the principal sales engineer working for Precisely, obviously, and I'm doing technical pre-sales in EMEA for all IBM I products and supporting Matt and other sales guys with presentations, proof of concept, demos, and of course any technical questions. So, data is everywhere. That's a little bit the topic. A fridge. Who has a fridge? Everybody, right? Well, maybe you have a smart one. I have a smart one. Yeah. And the interesting is this one generates data. It has a plug-in for a Wi-Fi module, and it can report, how the temperature is, and I can also get information about when the carbon filter needs to be replaced. I haven't done that, but technically it's possible, So, yes, so you have data, Next thing is you have a car. I know this guy has a car, he has a Tesla, and yes, he has data, a lot, that is producing it. And probably then you also have the thinking about that you need to realize that, other electronic components also generates data, a lot of it. And the point is, some data is really useful. As I mentioned with my fridge, if the temperature is rising, I want to know that. I want to be informed. I want to get that, in some ways, because something is wrong. Well, the point is we are not here talking about, appliance in the kitchen. We want to talk about computer logs and machine data. And the interesting fact is there was Gartner. They had something figured out about dark data. So dark data is something where, the information is somewhere hidden. It's not just be gated by that, but it's somehow crucial to understand what dark data that is. And the point is that, if you looking on IBM I and things, then there's of course be a little bit complexity into that, because when you look about security things, there's about 70 things that operation tools in average that some customers are using. And also, of course, there is a problem that, and that's by Gartner we figured that out with squeezing out the customers and asking them that there's a time loss, discovering all these information. Because it's there, but it takes time to do that. And that costs money, 100K per hour to retrieve all these information, which takes about 6 hours a week. And that, of course, results also in cost. 1.3 million of that, which meaning 5,600 ASB per minute in losses of that. So that means that the data that is being produced, the logs and machine data, is absolutely valuable, and you need to understand, of course, where to find it and how to get it. Now, the point is, problem that is existing. Because you have distributed and cloud environments, you have all the things in between. You have Linux servers, web servers, and whatever appliances. Even a tiny small Wi-Fi router has possibility to send some data, which you already do, to maybe one of these platforms, on the right side already, or maybe some other platforms. Just an example of what listed be there. But the problem is that the IBM I systems, and that also, is be out of that. So the traditional systems are not being included into all the machine and log data sending to these platforms. So how can Precisely help with that? Well, we can do automation monitoring of IBM I. We can, of course, look for proactive monitoring and program resolution. And of course, end-to-end application health and visibility about what's going on, 360 degrees. And then, of course, focusing on the relevant IBM I machine data. And then maybe to focus and put that into the iTalks platforms. And that is what we do with what we call Ironstream. It's just a brand name. So that's the tool in between for the legacy systems, of course, focusing on IBM I. And then have, of course, a lot of target platforms which we support. And maybe you already have one of these be installed. Interesting to see is, since a few days ago, we're supporting new of them. So with the latest service pack, we also get Dynatrace and OpenTelemetry. But if you see there's Splunk, ServiceNow, BigPanda, Datadog, Kafka, Google Ops, IBM POWERA, so Scene Data, Microsoft Sentinel, Micro Focus, and then also the System Center from Microsoft. So it's a wide area of tools for monitoring, for understanding what is going on the IBM I or that. And if you do not see your platform on that list, it will come to your environment very soon, and also we will support it because there's a lot of space to do that. As I mentioned before, this was with the latest service pack. It's so new that even in the marketing presentation it's not in there and in the documentation. So they were adding, and we are more bringing out some of the targets. Which then, what we can do is we can centralize IBM data delivery, managing this when you have, multiple IT operation platforms. And of course, you have seen there's 10 of the most interesting and most common platforms that we support. And we're delivering data to them from the IBM I. That's it. But IBM I is the focus in here. And of course, we can also refine the data to really have the organizational needs. It's not like you take everything and send everything, because it maybe needs to convert it, needs to be filtered, something needs to be retrieved of that. And really you need to focus on that what you have. Of course, there's a little bit of a challenge when you just work with the data. With IBM I mean, you have source of Q audit journal, Q history, message queues, database journals, and millions of transactions potentially be generated with that. Specifically in the DB2. I mean, if you have a high transactional system, which easily with the new power models, it can produce more and more, you need to be focusing on whatever is be critical to get that out. So it could be that there's, I don't know, average daily log 9.7 terabyte. What we figured out, what is being produced in that world. And also, I mean, the IBM I data is a kind of complex data structures, with each of the journal entries, because you have to understand what's in the journal entry itself. There's headers, and there's also data sections, and then maybe also the data has variable lengths and so on. And that is, of course, held in the IBM I journals. It's for the DB2 mostly. And then, of course, what we need to do is it needs to be converted, probably. Either in JSON, syslog, Ceph, or whatever protocol is appropriate for whatever target. The problem is also with AppStack. I mean, this is what IBM I is doing, but the target platform probably doesn't understand that. And of course, there's also performance collection services, which you may are interested in, and that's going to be over. So looking a little bit more into the detail, how is that being archived? So we call that Ironstream Hub, which is let's say, the focus in between. And you see here on the screen, we have sources, which can be multiple IBM I LPARs, where you have all these things be listed, starting with system operator, message queue, job accounting, and so on, that can be collected from the IBM I LPAR. And then you have the Ironstream Hub in the middle, which can be technically running on Windows or Linux. Most customers from us are using Linux for reliability, performance, and so on, but technically it can also run under Windows. And the hub itself has, of course, specific processes, and then you have a GUI. You see that on the right side. And the GUI, of course, will be web-based, encrypted communication, because security is also the high focus on that. And with the configuration itself on the hub with the browser, you're telling the agent that is be running in here, which uses low resources, whatever needs to be collected from that. So that will be configured with the mouse click and tell each of the LPARs whatever you have. Maybe you have hundreds of them, because we have a customer that is now I'm dealing with and testing is about 400 LPARs, And so all of these is going through the hub, or multiple hubs you can have, depending on the performance settings you want to adjust, so you can split that. And then it's processed, and then it's sent to the target. Either to one or multiple targets at the same time. I'm coming to that details a little bit more further. So that's the idea of that. Now, the philosophy of the hub is that, of course, it needs to have a little bit of a consolidation functionality to, have get out the complexity, and needs to be agile, and of course needs to have a lot of destination possibilities. It's good that's not running on the mainframe, or better, sorry, I have to put that out on IBM I because of resources. You want to have that external. Well, I must admit, of course, it's also possible that Linux and POWERA, you could install that. But to take it very narrow, not on IBM I itself, operating system, but on POWERA, yes, it is possible. But I think all of our customers have Intel servers because that's more easier to use. Linux VM, that's what best practices is. But technically, we could do that. And of course, we need a little bit of flexibility, in use cases, and then also, of course, SaaS possibilities is there, software as a services. It needs to be quick and built and fast and scalable. And on the right side, you see it's a kind of, data plug that whatever can be converted. These tiny thing, you go wherever in the world and you can plug it in and get your power, but now you can get your data. So with the hub itself, it's a kind of a universal thing in the middle where you can also be cleanse, reduce, select the data, remove it, translate, enrich, duplicate, convert the data, compress, split, and filter. So I have a lot of options. And then, of course, there's also APIs to app data, security, and capacity. Also to HA. I will say a little bit about Mimics, And that's what's happening. And if you look onto these possibilities that are there, then you would see, okay, there's here possibilities to set filters. Okay, so you have a source on the left side, on the right side you have a target. We can have multiple sources, multiple targets at the same time, and you can apply filters, which can be simple filters, like less than, greater than, equal, not equal, or we have complex filters. And you can see this as additional to the filtering setting that is already done by the agent. So whenever you configure the agent via the same GUI, where you only select, for example, like specific messages from history, but the messages maybe contain some word, and you only want, even if this is the same message ID, sometimes you say, yeah, it's a message ID, but I only want messages from specific jobs, from a specific user profile or something, Then you can apply, let me see, the second choice of the filters in here. So that means that, with that tool, so the right data, the right time, you have the right tools. So simple to set up, maintaining these pipelines, that's what we call that, a pipeline together, easy implementation, delivery, and of course, to have a kind of midstream process for the data reduction. So it's quick, and also you can have another target. So whenever you set something up with the filter, or you selected something in the source, and you're going from one target, and now you want to say it's a different target, you can just simply say, okay, I'm deleting the target, put in another one, which is a completely different target. Going from Splunk to Elastic, or from Datadog or Kafka, or whatever you want, or you have multiples of these. Everything is possible. So let's see how that works and a little bit of best practices with Ironstream for Splunk, how we call that. So that's an example. Of course, there's other targets we can provide, but here Splunk is the easiest one and one of what we do most with the customers. I think that's the highest number. So how does Splunk uses the IBM I data? Of course, for security, user authentications, interested in account locking activity, when it comes to that. FTP sessions, that's quite important, compliance one, sensitive data, and all of these is based on regulations, PCI DSS, you can retrieve the information and then have that be presented. IT services intelligence, response time, SLAs, service level agreements, latencies, exceptions, resource utilization, so talking about performance, and IT analytics, to understand what's going on onto the system. Have that be on the target system, on Splunk, but maybe also from other sources. Combine that with non-IBMI data or machine log data, you know, to see the clear picture. So really we have the glass table view of the entire services process, because process is not only sometimes IBMI, it's multiple systems and multiple things together. And then you can predict it. Do a predictive analysis, understand about what's going on in the system. Example would be for security. If you have something strange what's going on the IBMI, maybe you want to have the Wi-Fi routers also be and combine that. And then you see, oh, at the same time somebody tries to log in with a user profile and give the wrong password, but see here I have the Wi-Fi router which also have some kind of strange activity. 3 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, nobody is there, you know, and then normally the data would be separated. But if you have that on the big 360 view as a glass table, you can combine them. So let's focus more on Splunk. So this is an Ironstream hub customer example, what we have done. You see it's a complex filtering that was done additional to the setup what we retrieved from the system. And one reason why we did that is because to reduce the transactions. I've been told with Splunk that costs a lot of money. Any transaction, every transaction costs money. So reducing that to the minimum is money, reducing the cost. What we also deliver is with the hub itself is the starter packs. Okay, so this is somehow a kind of an easy implementation. So that means these are Splunk apps that can be installed in minutes. They're not available in the Splunk database, how that's called. Sorry for the term, but I'm not the expert for Splunk itself. So you can get them from us. And of course, they are included into the Ironstream license. So whenever you order Splunk as a target, you are entitled to get these starter packs as well. And these are a collection of dashboards and some searches, and they have been produced by our people that are working out with the customers. So more likely saying it's best practices. And these starter packs are based on ITOR, so IT operations, security, and also it's delivering a data model, which is important because you need to understand the data that's coming from IBMI, maybe to have that for future information. So let's have a look a little bit more in detail for the data model itself. So that's an intelligent lens, more likely, for IBMI logs, whatever is possible with that. And it helps you to, more likely hide the complexities. Because if you talk to a Splunk guy and you just send the raw data, he wouldn't understand that, you know? Because because you're from the IBMI world probably, but he doesn't know. So that was a little bit of a helpful tool to more like have, let's say, a translation between what's coming from IBMI and how to understand that. And that's the one that is easy to use the fields, you know, so you don't need to have the calculations and intelligence, you know, it bakes that in, and there's no need for these SPL language, you know, to run all that, because everything is there. You just create these tools, you just create the charts with the preview tool on the data model itself. And I mentioned already, it's included into the Ironstream license. And on the right side, you see, of course, some screenshots how that looks like in Splunk itself. So why are we doing that? Well, if you look a little bit more deeper on the IBMI data, of course, one thing is important, the conversion. FSTIC to ASCII. Remember, I said that's a problem. You know, IBMI uses FSTIC, the target systems uses ASCII. They don't understand directly. We're doing the conversion, and we're doing that, of course, also with the help of the data model. And then we have accessible text fields and values, and also the delivery, and there's a kind of a default for 30 seconds interval not to impact the IBMI. So that's how we retrieve that information. And for example, we have easy to identify some fields like journal name, job name, you know, see object lib, very easy to read, you know, and some other names that the Splunk administrator more understands than some cryptical things that came from the IBMI. So easy searching for that one. So let's see how then also the dashboards looks like. So first, ITOA dashboards, as an example, again, they're coming pre-delivered based on best practices, but of course the source is delivered, so you can change that. You can use them and you can say, okay, I'm modifying them, or I'm using the idea of how it's presented into my own dashboard, okay? But we just give it to you, you can use them, which a couple of customers understand, that's what we wanted to have. That's exactly how we want to start, you know, everything is being there. So we have here, for example, LPAR health, you know, so here we have the possibilities, multiple LPARs showing pool size, you know, this activity, this usage, memory usage. Let me say all the normal things that are be interested in that. If you're going a little bit more further, you have CPU, you know, wait cycle. Down here you have all the details, which you also can click on and see more and more details. I think they have done a pretty good job for showing that. And also the last one is a little bit of critical messages, which is important also, probably for hardware health and for anything that's related to, you know, system operations, you could say. Next one is security, because that's also a growing demand. I have customers, you know, usually POC made, which just say, oh, we want to do PO for the security. They're not interested in ITOR, strangely, but security and having the dashboards just ready, they're very happy with that, because they have Splunk and they need to get the data, security data into Splunk rapidly, very easily, you know, without really understanding what to do on IBMI and in between. Well, then we have just these dashboards, which we deliver. And they also have the best practices information on security. So invalid logins, very important. I found out internally, we just do that in our own IT, a little bit of a penetration test, where on a regular basis, an anonymous user is connecting to all of our, you know, IT design IBMI LPARs to find out if this user exists. Of course, it gets an invalid logon because these anonymous user or root doesn't really exist in IBMI, and I get the notification and I say, what's that? Well, that's a kind of a strange penetration test they're running internally in our corporation, you know? Interesting, I see that. Nice. So that's important thing. Next one is also authority thing. You know, to see, okay, where access was being done, but it was not be allowed, you know, more internally on specific objects. And also you see very nice graphs. Everything is be there. You just need to configure the basics, Q audit journal, obviously everything is coming out from that. And then we have system values. So the TSV one, very simple, one thing in the Q audit journal needs to be there, of course, needs to be configured, easy task to do, selecting that and then forwarding to Splunk, and then you have it. And it's showing you the change of the system values. Another thing is Mimix Health Link. So what we did is in one of the latest services, not really, now it's a while ago, we have the possibility of enabling what we call the health link into Mimix. Okay? So from Service Pack 7 and higher, obviously, there's a command, set Mimix policy. If you're working with Mimix, you probably know what's the meaning of that. You can simply enable that. There's a screenshot for that, you know? So it depends on the node. You can just be, say, collection enabled, disabled, and of course you can say which system, you know? It's the network or the management or the instance or whatever, you know? And then the frequency. You can set, very easy to do. So, and then, if you have Mimix, we can give you Ironstream Hub, the Ironstream product, for free. You are entitled to get the Ironstream. Of course, there's a little asterisk, if you see down, it's the limited version, of course, which only works with Mimix, with the specific journal that's been created. If you want the full version, well, we are happy to talk to you about the price list of course. But again, you can have it, download, install it, there's documentation about that, and you can have that. So that means that gives the advantage of, if you enable that, displays the mimic status in any of the graphical tool solutions. You know, I mean, you can also use it without Ironstream, but you get it for free. So why not using that and then forwarding the data to Splunk, obviously. And of course, the file structure information is all in these MXSTS files. Yeah, and that's where, you know, the dashboard is consuming that information. A little bit of the architecture. So you see there's a journal that's been created by the set mimics policy command. And then you have all the files. Mimics is handling the journal. It's creating the journal receivers, deleting them. Everything is done automatically by the set mimics command. If you disable it, Mimics will also stop journaling and deleting everything. Nothing to do with that internal structure. And then it goes Ironstream Hub, and then of course Splunk, but it could also be some other targets, you know, because it's JSON data or some other data which we produce, and then you can send it to that. Looking a little bit more in detail, so these are the files. They're also continuously a little bit enhanced with some service packs of Mimics. It contains also, you know, license key information, instance, data group, application group, and system status of all that. You know, so you have timestamps in there, and then you have kind of information. There's a heartbeat every minute, and on the right side you see a little bit the details about what is there. And there should also be now documentation about the fields, so the field structure and information, what is being written into the journal entries. Because you need to understand that. So the idea is, whenever you have Ironstream and then you have Splunk, of course, to build up a kind of a dashboard. Yeah. So this is an example someone created. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to do the same. Maybe you want to have it in a different format. Maybe you want to have different fields or some other information. It's just an example. What is more likely is possible. Okay. Good. So I think we are 5 minutes before the time, and now I'm open to any questions.
So if you have got mimics, yeah, so you can set this value you showed in
set mimics policy, yes,
policy for sending this data, generating this data.
I'm just doing
mimics,
that.
yeah. So this data, let's say this data are already generated, and the second thing we need is the hub, yeah, Ironstream hub.
Correct.
Installed, for example, on Windows system.
Yes. Yes.
And about the license, this is the license in this for Ironstream hub will be at the with no charge, but the license is required, of course. Yeah, the key.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's, let me say that to more clarify.
Yeah.
It's a license key for the agent, which is technically required.
Agent,
Okay.
which is on IBMI, yeah?
Yes, but the license key will be entered in the hub itself. Because the hub is communicating with the agent. I'm going back to the slide in here. It's a very good question. Gets a little bit technical, but that's good. So this is the structure. So the hub has also license keys, but it has license keys for whatever you have as a target. Okay? Technically, that may change in the future. We also need an agent license key. Because the agent license key is based on the LPAR information, serial number. Yeah? If you have multiple LPARs, multiple systems, you need more and more license keys. You will get them technically for free as well. If you only configure the MX journal in the possibilities of, you know, where we have application file journal data. So that means it's a journal monitor. If you configure the MX journal, then the hub recognizes, it's a Mimics health link. He doesn't need any license. So you can send technically to any of the targets. Okay? If you configure more than just this one journal, it wouldn't work. You need to have another license key for the hub, and that which can do more than except for one of the journal and the journal monitor. So that's, let me say, is be free inside the hub, The journal monitor for MX journal.
But should this license should be requested, or in this case, or
Yes.
without? Yes.
Yes. So if that is be done by a Mimix customer, then you say, hey, I want to have the Ironstream hub for Mimix HealthLink. These are my LPARs, serial number, and I think we need to P group of that, you know?
LPAR,
Yeah, not LPAR ID.
not LPAR.
Not now, let me say
Uh-huh.
that. Again, it's a little bit of the process of changing,
Mhm.
because here it will be a separate key which you need to enter a number, while the hub license keys are in a file. And in the future, of course, that will be made a little bit more easier. Yeah. Probably maybe there is no need to have a license key for the LPAR itself, so no agent license. I don't know what they're going to do, you know? Technically, we need that for the agent. So for each of the agents, so each of the LPAR operating system, we need a license key, which you get because, as I said, it's free if this is a Mimix customer.
Okay. And of course, for example, Splunk, if it's the Splunk as the target.
Yes.
Yeah. The Splunk is on the customer side, yeah?
Yes.
Yes, this is nothing.
Or in a cloud, or at Splunk itself.
Whatever,
it's-
Kafka or
Yeah,
something.
it's just a connection. So the hub is doing a connection through TCP/IP or HTTP,
Mhm.
or you can have some other possibilities like Elastic or whatever its connection. But usually it's TCP or HTTP.
Mhm.
You can configure that.
So if I have a customer interested in it in Poland, so whom should I ask for?
Well, primarily, of course, responsible AE,
Okay.
and either he will ask me for doing
Okay.
this, you know, because we want to handle and bring
So
that.
Andrew, yeah? To Andrew?
I just talked to Andrew.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and Andrew will figure out. Probably he will ask me first.
Okay,
Say,
okay.
okay, what should I do?
Yes,
And then
yes,
I say, okay,
yes.
that's the way to do it.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I understand now. Yes.
Any further questions? We have 2 more minutes until session is over.
It's quite clear.
Do you think that would be something to move forward? Come on. No?
And this presentation will be available?
Absolutely.
on common-
As usual, it will be for download from the common website.
Yeah,
You'll
yeah,
see
yeah.
to this repository where
Yes.
all the other
As
presentations
usual.
are.
Because this is also that's a good starter for a customer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But of course, we can
Yes, yes.
keep
of
in
course.
contact
Yes,
and
yes.
do the details. And I mean, I also have a demo environment where we can
Ah.
show how the.
Remote one, yeah?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Technically, I can do it now.
Ah.
Also, but
Yes, yes, yes.
we need to
During
have
the
schedule another time because I think.
Teams
that-
meeting, for example.
Yes,
yeah?
absolutely.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you.